Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilma ya muqallibul qulub sabbit qalbi ala dinik. Ameen. Today we'll do Surah Balad. This is a Makki surah having 20 ayat in it. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. La uqsimu bihazal balad. I swear by this city. Wa anta hillum bihazal balad. And you shall be free of restrictions in this city. Wa walidin wa ma walad. I swear by the father and offspring. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. We have certainly created man in toil. أَيَحْسَبُ أَلَّنْ يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٌ. Does man think that none shall ever have power over him? يَقُولُ أَحْلَقْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا. He says, I have wasted wealth in abundance. أَيَحْسَبُ أَلَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ. Does he think that none sees him? Alam naj'al lahu aynayn. Have we not given him 2 eyes? Walisanan wa shafatayn. A tongue, 2 lips. Wahadaynahun najdayn. And showed him the 2 paths. Okay. Allah Ta'ala swears oath by the city of Makkah and by the father Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and his offsprings, that is mankind. These oaths are taken to emphasize that we have certainly created man in toil. When this surah was revealed, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was still living in Makkah. At that time, he was still suffering the persecutions of the mushrikeens. Even the mushrikeen regarded Makkah to be a scared place in which no fighting and killing should take place. By taking an oath by Makkah, Allah honors its sanctity between the 2 oaths. Allah tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you shall be free of restrictions in this city, Makkah. This was foretold that time will come when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would enter Makkah as a conqueror, and that Allah would free him from the restrictions of the city by permitting him to execute certain people. Consequently, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam marched with the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum into Makkah during the 8th year of after Hijrah, immensity was granted to a large number of mushrikeen who had perpetrated atrocities against the Muslims. However, there were some people whom the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum were commanded to execute. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said, verily, Allah made Makkah a haram, sacred, that is, a place where no killing should take place. The day He created the heavens and the earth, none was given freedom to execute before me, and none shall ever have this freedom after me. This freedom was granted to me for only a portion of the day. It will now remain sacred by the decree of Allah until Qiyamah. That is, killing will not be permitted in Makkah until Qiyamah. Narrated by Mashkat, page number 237. In ayat number 4, Allah says, we have certainly created man in toil. Man is the best of Allah's creation. Together with granting him honor, Allah also tests man with many trials and hardships. Together with tending to his many needs, and necessities, man faces many other difficulties in his life. Man has to ensure that he makes an effort to feed and clothe himself and his family. In addition to this, illness and calamities afflict him. Despite this, he has to continue earning a living and tending to his many responsibilities. To feed himself, man has to till the land, plant the seeds, and still ensure that the fields receive sufficient water and care. After caring for his crops and gardening them against pestilence, the crops are finally ready for harvesting. However, man's work does not end here. He still has to harvest the crop, thresh it if it is a grain, store it, and grind it into flour. Thereafter, the flour has to be prepared and baked into bread before he can eat it. After eating the food, the waste has to be excreted. If he is suffering from constipation, he will have to seek medical assistance so that his stomach works. On the other hand, if he is suffering from diarrhea, he will also need to have it treated. Okay. If a person does not marry, he will have difficulty. If he does marry, he will have to exert himself to provide for his wife and children. He will have to worry about raising the children properly, and he will have to share all their pains and experiences. The above are just as few of the merits of difficulties that a person faces in his life. If one ponders about it, one will be able to enumerate many more. Besides these difficulties, there are numerous tasks that the Sharia demands from a person. One has to forsake one's sleep and occupation for salah, endure hunger and thirst to fast, give a portion of one's wealth in zakah, and spend one's wealth to perform Hajj. These are responsibilities that man is entrusted with, and from which the other creations are exempt. If one fulfills all these responsibilities and endures all the difficulties of life to please Allah, one will be greatly rewarded in the hereafter. However, the person who does all this for worldly motives will have to share of reward in the hereafter in addition to this. If one commits sin, one will have to face punishment there. When afflicted with difficulties, man's attitude should be that everything is from Allah. He should continue being obedient to Allah, and he should turn to Allah all the time. This is accomplished by making dua to Allah and engaging in acts of ibadah. However, the opposite usually takes place. Instead of turning to Allah, people violate His commands and seem to have no fear of reckoning. Referring to this attitude, Allah asks, does man think that none shall ever have power over him? Man appears to think that he is free to do as he pleases without fearing that he is being watched and that Allah has the power to take him to task of his deeds. He fails to realize that Allah gave him the power he wields and that Allah has power over everything. In ayat number 6, in this manner, man becomes haughty and extravagant and even has the audacity to boast, I have wasted wealth in abundance. He does not realize that he spent his wealth in avenues that are displeasing to Allah. It appears as if he thinks that none is watching him. Therefore, Allah asks, does he think that none sees him? Allah is watching man all the time. The Tafsir Jalalain reveals that one of the kuffar spent a great amount of wealth to oppose Islam and boast about this, saying, I have wasted wealth in abundance. Allah warns such people that He is ever watchful over them and He will take him to task for the wrong they do. In ayat number 10, Allah continues, have we not given him 2 eyes, a tongue, 2 lips, and showed him the 2 paths of good and evil? Allah has given man his limbs, the other physical qualities, all of which are invaluable aids for him, and they also add to his beauty. Man ought to express gratitude for all of this by using these limbs to carry out good deeds pleasing to Allah. In this manner, he will be securing his success in the Akhirah. Allah has shown man the way to attain salvation as well as the path of destruction. The choice is man's. The intelligent man will opt for the path of salvation by fulfilling Allah's commands and the teachings of Anbiya alayhi salam. He will accept Allah's authority, invest all he has for the hereafter, and ensure that he treats Allah's creation well. Let's recite the remaining verses of the surah. فَلَا تَحَمَلْ akaba. For what reason does man not emerge from the abyss? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْأَقَبَةُ. What will inform you what emerging from the abyss entails? Fakku rakaba. It is the emancipation of slaves. أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة, or on a day of hunger feeding يتيما ذا مقربة, an orphaned relative, أو مسكينا ذا متربة, or a dust covered destitute. ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة. Man will then become of those who believe, those who enjoin each other to be patient, and those who enjoin each other to be compassionate. Ulaika ashabul maymana. These are the people of the right. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِنَا هُمْ أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ. Those who reject our verses are certainly the people of the left. عَلَيْهِمْ نَارٌ مُوصَدَةٌ. The fire will be shut over them. In verse number 11, a woman has many responsibility, while some of these are voluntary, others are obligatory. Referring to these, Allah asks, for what reason does man not emerge from the abyss? That is, why does man not spend his wealth to emerge from the abyss in which he is constantly fighting his nafs and shaitan? This unending struggle of man in which he strives to fulfill commands in compared to a deep abyss from which one struggle to emerge. Allah then asks, what will inform you, O listener, what emerging from the abyss entails? Allah Ta'ala then presents 3 examples of deeds that will remove him from the abyss so that he can win the battle against his nafs and shaitan. In ayat number 30, the first is the emancipation of slaves. This entails setting slaves for irrespective of what the act is done voluntarily or because one is compelled to as in the cause of kafara. Also included in the ambit of freeing slaves as kitaba and tadbir, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when a person frees a slave, every limb of the person that corresponds with the limb of the slave will be freed from the fire of Jahannam. Hazrat Bara bin Azib Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu reports that a villager once came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked what deed should admit him into Jannah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, free a soul and emancipate a slave. But are the two not the same thing? Inquired the man. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, no. Freeing a soul means that you free a slave all by yourself, and emancipating a slave means that you assist in paying his price, that is, helping a Mukatib, slave, pay his price for freedom. Also among the deeds that will admit you into Jannah is that you will give someone an animal that gives a lot of milk, or that you behave politely with a cruel relative. If you cannot do this, then feed the hungry, give water to the thirsty, enjoin good and prevent evil. If you cannot do this even, then use your tongue for nothing except good words. Narrated by Mishkat, page number 294. The second and third deeds, ayat number 16, to deeds to remove one from the abyss is a day of hunger, feeding an orphaned relative, and feeding a dust-covered destitute. The destitute person referred to in the verse is someone who has absolutely nothing and has to sleep on the bare ground, causing his body to be covered in dust. In ayat number 7, Allah Ta'ala states further that when man will do this, man will then become of those who believe, those who enjoin each other to be patient, and those who enjoin each other to be compassionate. Belief is the most important deed because no good deed is accepted without it. Allah adds that enjoying each other to be patient is an essential trait of Iman. Enjoining. Okay. The word sabr, translated above as patience, refers to remaining steadfast in performing good deeds, refraining from sin, as well as experiencing patience when afflicted with any difficulty. As explained in other verses, such as verse 153 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the word sabr entails all these three things. Another requirements of Iman is that a person encourages other to show companion towards the rest of the creation. Compassion towards the rest of the creation. In ayat number 18 till end, about such people Allah declares, these are the people of the right, that is, the people who will receive their record of deeds in their right hands and who are promised Jannah. Verse number 27 till 38 of Surah Waqia, Surah number is 56. Detail the bounties that the people of the right will receive in Jannah. On the other hand, those who reject our verses are certainly the people of the left. The fire will be shut over them. These people will receive their records of deeds in their left hand and will be doomed to Jahannam. When entered into Jahannam, the doors of Jahannam will be shut and they will be unable to escape. May Allah save us from this. Verse number 41 till 56 of Surah Waqia describes the people of the left. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم اغفر لي مسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.